Thanks. Good evening, everyone. I have a couple of visuals that I think might aid me in communicating about the region that I'll be speaking about. So what you see in this image is a map of North America. In the dark blue, that is the, thank you, that is the Inuit homeland that spans northern Alaska, where I'm from, northern Canada, and also Greenland. So throughout that vast area, there is a linguistic and cultural continuum. So we call that region Inuit Nunat. In Canada, next slide, please. Oh, there we go. In Canada, we call the Inuit homeland Inuit Nunangat. Inuit Nunangat encompasses the northern part of the Northwest Territories, Nunavut, northern Quebec, which is called Nunavik, as well as Nunatsiavut. And each of these regions is really shaped through, in large part through the negotiation of Inuit land claims agreements. There are 3 indigenous peoples in Canada, Inuit, First Nations, and Métis. Those 3 peoples are recognized in Section 35 of Canada's Constitution. And those treaties, those agreements that I just referred to, those are embedded into the Constitution through Section 35. In the 4 land claims organizations that have settled those agreements, their presidents are who make up ITK's board of directors. So the organization I work for is called Inuit Tapiriit Kanatami. It's a national Inuit representative organization in Canada. And our board of directors directs the policy and representative work that we do. The work that we do is pretty diverse. It spans from education and educating the Canadian public through events such as this one. It includes research, both leading research, but also partnering with researchers who may be doing research in the Inuit homeland. Also advocacy and lobbying in relation to federal budgets, as well as federal legislation, programs, policies, and initiatives, including the recently released Arctic and Northern Policy Framework. So that's just to give you a general idea of the work that we do. Today I wanted to talk a bit about the relationship between the climate impacts that we are all, I think, thankfully, and growingly, increasingly aware of, and I guess the challenges that exist and the priorities that Inuit have identified in Inuit Nunangat. So as many of you know, summer sea ice extent is lessening year over year. I mean, this past summer in Alaska, for example, but also in Nunavut as well, was the hottest summer on record. And as sea ice depletes, some nations see that as an economic opportunity. For Inuit, there are challenges, but also potentially opportunities associated with that change and then the associated changes that could come with it. And some of those changes we're already seeing. Jackie, I think, is going to talk a bit about some of them in a bit more detail, but things such as shipping, increased shipping throughout Inuit Nunangat, tourism, things like fisheries, pollution of the marine environment that nearly all 51 Inuit communities in Canada rely on to feed their families, the infrastructure challenges that are associated with potentially increasing economic activity in the region. All of those are sort of, some are already creating, I guess, stress for communities. There are also opportunities such as tourism and tour ships that some communities are already starting to benefit from in some ways. So that's just to give you an idea of, I guess, the links between climate and climate change and I guess the emerging challenges and opportunities that are coming to the fore at a time of increased international interest and activity in the Arctic. For us, the implications of some of those activities, but also of climate change, are pretty profound, as you can imagine. I suppose on the most basic level, there is a need, and there is a foundation and rights for Inuit to be involved in some of the decision-making around what the Arctic could look like 5 years, 10 years from now. So when we're talking about things such as sea lanes potentially being developed and created that are running throughout the Northwest Passage, there are really profound implications for many Inuit communities. The disturbances, the potential disturbances to wildlife, the potential pollution of the marine environments that wildlife depends on, I guess the infrastructure, I guess challenges when you have a largely infrastructure-poor region managing increased shipping traffic, managing things like potential accidents and spills, or pleasure craft that may get lost in the region and require the support of communities that are nearby. So all of these things are sort of adding up and combining together to create an environment where the challenges, the baseline challenges that already exist are being compounded by a rapidly changing Arctic, both environmentally, both politically and economically. So I just wanted to provide that overview and leave time for discussion and questions. So with that, I'd like to just pass it to my colleagues here. Thanks.